to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, Hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. Did you hear? I almost forgot there for a second.
Yeah, we're getting out of practice.
I guess. I don't know what happened there.
We'll get our groove on here eventually, get all three of us rolling here. So
866-594-4150. We've had Ronnie in North Carolina. He called a little while ago. He's been waiting to get on. So let's go right to the phones and say, hey, Ronnie, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, guys, I really appreciate you taking my call. I have a question about a 2000 model Dodge Durango.
All right.
You there? Oh, I'm sorry. So we bought the vehicle new, and ever since we've had it, if you disconnect the battery, or let's just say the battery dies and you have to jump the vehicle off, when you restart the vehicle, it will not idle. You have to maintain around 1,200 RPM to keep it idling. And then what I normally do, because I'm in town, a small town, I have to drive the vehicle with one foot on the brake and one on the gas for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 miles, and run it for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And after that period of time, it'll do fine.
Well, I got one question first that I think is important. Why does your battery keep going dead?
Right?
Yeah, that's important.
Have you figured?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, we bought the vehicle new in 2000. You know, I'm just saying, like every 4 or 5 years. That's why I've never really researched this issue, because it doesn't happen very often.
I got the impression this was happening like every other weekend.
No. But if you do disconnect the battery, you have to go through this. You know, if you work on the vehicle or whatever, if you disconnect the battery.
Russ, is he just experiencing a relearn of the idle?
It's normal. It's 100% normal. Many vehicles do this. Not all of them, but almost all of them. Yeah, it's an idle relearn. Has to go through it.
Okay, well, that's the only vehicle I've ever had to do that. And back in the late 70s, early 80s, I worked at a Chevrolet dealership on a lube rack, and they sent me to GM Training Center down in Charlotte. And so I got in the computer field very early, you know, on vehicles, and ended up leaving that and going into the industrial side. But I still had never heard that before. But
you
I
won't
was
get
wondering
that.
if maybe
your old throttle body won't get it.
Yeah, I was wondering maybe the computer had like a battery in it, you know, to maintain, and maybe that battery had died or something.
Nope. Yeah, you won't get that on an old GM with a throttle body, but you will get it on newer cars. I mean, it happens all the time. Some cars, it doesn't do it at all, but it's super common on, I would say, at least half of all the cars we put engines in at our shop. And I'm talking about, we're doing, 20 engines a month sometimes, more or less. And half of them, the tech's done with it. I bring it out, I start it, I run it, I drive it, I make sure it idles keep it up off of idle until the fans come on twice, and then I shut the key off for 30 seconds, restart it, and make sure it idles, because no customer wants to pick up their car and have it not idling. So that's really common. And if you get on the internet and Google idle relearn on your vehicle, on this Dodge, you're going to find out that that's exactly what it's doing. Now, if it breaks, you'll never get it to relearn if it's got a bad idle air control motor or something. But other than that, yeah, that's perfectly normal on those. How you can avoid this for anybody listening, get a battery saver. And it's a little, like a 9-volt battery. it will clip onto your battery cables or plug into the cigarette lighter on the older cars. Newer cars, they've got a diode in there. You can't do it. But on the old ones that have this, you can clip onto the battery cables. Then when you remove the battery cables, it keeps a little backup like a battery in a computer, which they don't put in there. It's built in with capacitors. But if you keep a little juice to the car, it won't short, because if you short a 9-volt battery out, it won't hurt anything.
You have the newest vehicle in the Under the Hood Show fleet. Does it have any lighter inputs?
No.
It's all USB?
And by lighter, you mean a round hole.
I do not have a power port.
Okay.
I have in my Silverado truck, which is a 22.
Mm-hmm.
It has USB, USB-C, 12-volt wall receptacle, or 120-volt wall receptacle in the glove box. And it's got a number of those USB ports, but I had to buy a jumper harness to install one of my options.
Yeah, and those are great. I've used one of those in mine to hook up my cameras, which I can tell you what option that is. But you needed power. There was no power, but they have removed the round hole, which kids, it used to be a lighter socket.
Yeah.
Yes, people used to smoke in their cars.
Yep, I still call it a cigarette light. I had to pause to say power port.
Right. Yeah.
Because
I said
pause
lighter.
to say it.
Yeah.
And then the Bronco has I think it's got one. I think there's one in the glove box. I got to check that again. But they got a lot of little ports and stuff on there. But no, that's a fair question.
Ronnie, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Josh in Iowa. Josh, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
I have a 2006 Colorado 4x4, and got it from an auto recycler. Going about 3 years now. We put a new engine and transmission in it and such, and just kept keeping it going. I use it as a service truck, and when we get snow like we are today, I want to put it in four-wheel drive. However, the four-wheel drive isn't working quite right. It says service four-wheel drive on the dash. The lights on the selector aren't available. And when we had that first cold snap back in January is when it first happened. I used it in four-wheel drive for about a day. And then the next day, it wasn't working. So I'm wondering how to go about diagnosing that. I have a TCCM on order, but I haven't checked any of the wiring or anything like that underneath.
I'd say the transfer case control module is probably one of the possible culprits, but not the most likely on that vehicle, 06 Colorado. And just all those were push-button four-wheel drive as far as I know. I don't think they ever made a Colorado with a floor shift, did they?
I've never seen one.
Yeah,
they might have, but I haven't seen one.
was going to ask that question. I'm like, I don't think they have one of those. And
I was even looking for retrofits for that to see if I could just get a manual shift.
Just now that you say that, it made me think. I saw recently that somebody had a center cap or something you could put on, and it made it look like you had Warren lockouts on the front of your vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Like,
the sticker,
like dummy Warren lockouts. I digress. on
That's
that.
kind of cool.
Yeah, but Russ, where would you start when that comes in?
I would look at the transfer case shift motor on the case first, because that is giving the feedback to that module to tell it what position it's in and light that dash control up. I bet we've put on 20, 30 of those things that I can recall in the last 10 years, but I don't think we've ever put a transfer case control module in one.
In a Colorado type vehicle.
Right. So that makes it a lot less likely than the shift motor itself. And it's old enough now that motor can be wearing out. And a lot of times it's from non-use. If you leave it in two-wheel drive or auto the whole time and it's never shifted, once you shift it, it may just be done and not operate unless you give it a little tap. And that's a possibility too. We use a rubber mallet, so we don't break
rubber
the
mallet
magnets, and give it just a little thump, 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 thump on the side while somebody hits the button to change from 2 to 4 and see if it takes off. If it does, that's a guarantee if that's the problem.
Josh, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. 888-848-5050. That's the phone number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Jim. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Jim, what can we do for you?
Hi, guys. I got a 2013 Toyota Highlander. My wife cannot get the key to turn in the switch, in the ignition switch. Do I need to replace just the switch or the key, or how do I go about that?
Is she stuck somewhere right now? Should we be concerned for her safety?
No. She got it going. It took about 15 minutes with, kind of wiggling the steering wheel, and she got it to start. So I know it's going to happen again.
I didn't know if she was in a shady part of town and
Right.
couldn't get out.
Well-
We needed to be concerned.
Here's the thing. If you come into my shop and you've got a key that's turned on and you pull in and say, I left it running because if I turn it off, I might not be able to turn the key on, it could be half price or 2/3 less than if you come in and say, yeah, here's the key. I took it out. You won't be able to get it to turn back on again. And it could be even more than that. I may have to replace the whole column because if that thing is jammed in there, I can't get it out. And to get that ignition lock cylinder out, it has to be in the on position. You push a little button when you take the column apart and you pull the key out. It's that simple. But it's made for theft. Because if somebody wants to steal your car, if they could just take the covers off and push a button and take the key out, they stick another key in there. What good would that do? Right. So it's made that you have to have the key that works to turn it on to put a different one in. You got to unlock the safe before you can change the combination. So get it to turn on. You'll have to get it into a dealership that they need to program the key to the vehicle. So they're going to want to have it in the on position. So you can just turn it off so the engine stops and all the lights go off inside, but don't turn it all the way to the lock position and take the key out. Just shut it off and so you can make sure you can turn it back on. And you don't ever want to spray anything in there to lube it up because that usually makes the problem even worse. It's made to be a dry system, and the tumblers will stick when that happens. So, yeah, your easiest fix at this point is to get it into a dealership that can program that new key and just slip a new cylinder in there. And it is the lock cylinder that'll get replaced, not the electric portion of the switch.
I'm going to ask you a couple more questions because curiosity does have the best of me. Did you say this was the first time this had happened?
I believe so. I think she's had problems once where it just took a couple little wiggles and it started. But I think it's 15 minutes this last time.
And is the key that's in
so
there
I told her to
the
take
original
the
key?
other car that gets better. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm not exactly sure. So I'm not allowed in her car. So
You're not allowed in the car, but you're summoned when it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's the original.
Can you get a key
And that's
worn
what I
enough
was
for us where it would do
curious about.
this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you can see wear on the key, if you have two keys
the nubbins?
and you match it up to another one, one's got sharp points or pretty close to peaks on it, and the other one is round. And try the other key. And if the other key works perfect every time, just go get a copy of the good key and see if you're fine. And then that'll save you some trouble. The problem you're going to have is if you keep using the worn key, you'll destroy that lock cylinder by pushing on the tumblers in there.
Well, the other thing I was going to angle at with my strange line of questioning was whether or not she just happened to get into a spot where she had excess pressure on the steering column.
Right.
Maybe she had turned against a snowbank, a curb. You see every once in a while you get excess pressure on the drivetrain and it can't release the park.
Or you've got a key ring with 50 other keys on it and little dolls and ornaments and things that will ruin an ignition switch.
Yep.
I have a 5-pound dumbbell hanging on the end of mine.
You might as well because that's what we see a lot. And they've strongly, all the manufacturers have very strongly said, no, nothing goes on this key ring other than one key and the key fob to start the vehicle.
Don't even put your keys on it.
No, they did that. And one of the reasons they've gone to key fobs now, I read an article that was written by an executive at GM that was in engineering, and he said one of the reasons we went to the key fob to walk up and the push button on the dash is because of that giant, they had all the recall of the keys because you couldn't turn the key off and on, and they were shutting off going on the road.
Cobalts and all that kinds of other cars.
So they had a problem with that, and they're like, hey, push button start is going to fix this problem. So now we got another host of problems to
Transferred the problem.
Right.
Jim, did we help you?
Absolutely.
And I want to
I was
compliment you.
curious if it was just a.
I was going to compliment you on protecting the relationship with your wife.
Right.
You were very, very delicate on answering all the questions I tried to trap you with.
Yeah, for sure. So if he tries the other key and the other key works fine,
Throw the first one out,
the
bad one.
Go get a spare made.
and have it programmed
Right.
to start the car.
And the
then throw that
programming's $80.
If you've got a good key, yeah, $80 to $120, depending on where you go. As long as you have one good key that still starts the vehicle, you can add to it. If you've got no keys, people, if you're listening and you have one key to your car, go get a spare today. Get a spare, because if you lose both of them, in some cases, it's a crazy amount of money. But if you have a good one, you can get another one.
And that is in this case. I mean, it's not the case in every car, but for this.
Every car that has an electronic security system, which is basically everything from 2000 and up, get a spare key. It's
Sure.
good to have. It's good to have two. It's always good to have two, because I think everybody has lost their key at least once and then found it. But at least once you've lost a key.
Mm-hmm.
I have.
Jim, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to John. You're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you, John?
Hey, gentlemen. I've got a 2003 Mini Cooper S that is constantly overheating. And just to give you a little background, I've already taken it into the shop. At first they said it was a head gasket issue. Paid enormous amount of money to get that fixed. Take it back, and it's still overheating. And how it overheats is, I'll get it up to, I run it, about 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden antifreeze just starts bubbling out through the cap. I'll pull it in, stop, it'll cool down again, take off. As long as I keep it kind of like, I don't push it much, 75, 70, it's good. When I got it back home and parked it in my driveway after I tested it, it started to overheat again, just sitting there. And I mean, I have no idea what's going on. There was a couple people that said maybe it was a water pump issue, and it could be a radiator issue. They replaced the what's it called, the thermometer thing, inside.
Thermostat.
Anyway, thermostat. Thanks. For some reason I lost the word, but I'm just kind of at my wit's end here with this thing. I don't know how much more money I need to put into this to get it fixed.
Give me 5 keywords about overheating for $5,000.
Those cars we don't see in the shop a lot. And sometimes I just, depending on what the situation is, I just tell them, take them somewhere else.
Because you don't want to work on
yeah,
it.
And I usually you send them to the people you don't like.
No,
hey,
but this is just kind of an engine issue, though. I mean, it's a Mini Cooper issue, but it's an engine issue. We got to talk it through.
And that, John, if I may, let me just jump into your head for a minute. When you think it might overheat, and whatever, you and I worked. One time I had an overheating problem, and you were like, "All right, let's run this until it overheats, so we can see where it does it." And so we were watching it, and we were watching the temp, and we knew it was going to overheat. We were just waiting for the moment it would overheat. And then when it did, it was like the worst feeling in the world of
I was hoping
panic.
I was hoping you had just had a odd moment.
Right.
Chris is crazy. Uh-oh.
But it was just like, okay, we're going to wait till it gets up to temp, and it's going to start to bubble. But then when it started to bubble, I was like, even though I knew it was coming.
Yeah, we were hoping it wouldn't.
Right.
That's all right.
Held the RPMs a little bit, and just all of a sudden there it was.
We fixed it.
Panic.
So some cars have a thermostat, but some of them also have, or instead of, have a control which changes the water pump, and it changes the flow. They have a flow control, or they have electronic thermostats, so that part can fail, or the control system for it can fail. When those first started coming out, the only place you could get them was at a dealership. But now our partner at Motorrad makes a majority of these units. And how it works, like let's say you got a water pump, and inside it either has a valve to open and close and regulate the flow, or it has a variable geometry of the water pump. So it's basically just slowing down the coolant flow through the engine. And you can only do so much of it because you've got to keep the heater working so they have bypasses and things like that. But if that is not working correctly, the car will overheat. And it can be tested in a shop using a scan tool and activating it, turning it on and off, and changing the flow. I would go looking at that, and I would also get an exhaust gas tester where we're going to take some gas out of the radiator and see if it changes colors. If it does, we definitely have a head gasket out. But if it doesn't, we know that it's overheating because it's not flowing and not being controlled.
And even though we replaced the head gasket, since it didn't solve the overheating,
it could have a cracked head, though.
Right.
Or a cracked block. But with those cars, I don't see those very often. So it's just one that's going to have to be in a shop, and they're going to have to think a little different direction on it. So look at those flow control devices.
John, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
Welcome back to the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us. If you like our Facebook page and you join the Hoodie fan club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Clark Miller and Dana Rich. Both of them won a hoodie because last week I said, hey, we're not doing hoodie winners this week. I'm going to do 2 next week.
Okay.
I had stuff going on, you
Sure.
know. I had to fill your shoes.
Right.
So I had to take some of the load off my brain because I can't do what you do, Chris.
Oh, I think you can. I watched you. It went very well.
You should have been on the other end. Sorry, Greg. We got that fixed this week. My bad.
We haven't had any texts from the mothership yet, have we?
No, I'm hoping everything's going great. But last week, it was not an operator problem.
Missed one thing.
Well, but it was a big one. It was a hardware
yeah.
thing. You test and test and test. Mm-hmm. But I missed the one thing, which actually has a silence alarm on it, and I
rang it.
I missed it because I was looking at the monitor. Anyways, it's
studio engineer Russ has been doing a lot of work in the studio the last couple of weeks.
Well, it won't happen again because I got a double redundancy on it now. So,
but we've got some upgrades, done. And
I should have gone to UTI Tech.
Yeah.
For radio.
Do they have
John,
that?
you guys listening down there? Can you do a technical school that does radio and electronics?
Radio engineer.
Good idea.
I think you could teach the story.
And then
that now.
And then newsprint.
Yeah.
And then Morse code. Just go in reverse order.
Did you just predict something? I don't know.
I don't think I predicted it. I think I just
business you're
reported. I think I just reporting. I don't think it's predicting.
And let's go back to,
yeah. Handshake and the old modem.
Yeah. 56K. We'll never get faster. Oh, it's horrible. Anyways, Universal Technical Institute, that's where I would go to be a automotive technician.
That's right.
Or an aircraft. Or a motorcycle mechanic or marine mechanic. Are you getting the drift of what I'm saying here? You picking up what I'm giving you? If it's mechanical, look them up, uti.edu today.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Alabama and talk to Patrick. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Patrick, what can we do for you?
Hey, fellas. How's it going? Love the show.
Thank you.
So I am purchasing my sister-in-law's 01 Wrangler. It's a Sport Edition with a 4.0 AMC straight six in it.
And she's a little shifty. You're not quite sure about her, so you want to call and make sure. Yeah, right?
That's exactly the thing.
Is she listening?
It's got 170,000 on the body. Oh, no, sir. No, she actually shipped out to boot camp on Monday.
Oh, thank you for her service.
Now I feel terrible.
So if it's broke, you can't find it.
Now, she's following in family footsteps. Proud
That's
of her.
awesome.
Love her.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So the question is, now that we've been beating you up.
Yes, sir. So 170K on the body, 65,000 on a newer motor. Her driving it in high school and the previous owner, crank and go and just gunning it like every great high schooler does. What should I start looking for in terms of possible maintenance that I'm going to have to do on it, or stuff that I can go ahead and start working on prevention-wise? Like any kind of flushes or anything like that I can do on the motor or the trans or anything?
It's a Jeep, and if it was a high schooler and you're in Alabama, I know what that thing was used for. I know what mine was used for when I was down south. A lot of places for that. I would just say, hey, let's start fresh. I got this vehicle. Let's do all the fluid changes in here. Let's do some flushes. and get it all fresh so we know what we're doing. As far as other maintenance goes, we really don't do a lot of fuel injection cleaning on those. They're really tough engines, and they work great. They stay pretty clean. I would look at external leaks. Those
valve
things,
cover leaks.
Yes, that valve cover that leaks on that, it's really common, but super easy for you to fix yourself at home. Watch it on YouTube if you need to. But, that valve cover leaking will cause a ton of other damage. That oil is like acid almost,
or a fire.
It's a solvent. Yeah, it can cause a fire, but really it'll eat up hoses and wiring and stuff. So you just want to address that if it is leaking. That's the major leak on those engines. Everything else is usually pretty solid on them. But I would definitely do the differentials, front and rear, transfer case, flush that trans. Like I was hinting at, it's probably been off road sometime in its life. If you've got a girl in high school driving a Jeep who's decided to join the military, that baby's probably been off road. She's probably an off road, let's go four wheeling kind of girl.
100%.
Yeah, there you go.
I think he's nailed it.
Let's check those differentials and make sure they're in good shape, because really the only thing that would happen to mine when I would off-road it a lot would be that I would get some moisture in the differentials now and then in the transfer case, because I would be driving through some deeper water. And it just seemed to get in there on the Jeeps. And this is a lot newer Jeep than mine, but, still you're in the same principle, same axles.
We've seen those engines well-maintained, just like the first one, 170,000 miles on the vehicle, but we've seen those over 200,000 miles big time.
But it's a straight 6. So use an oil additive in every oil change to protect that. And the reason is with that high pressure on those cams, what we're seeing destroy these engines is the cam. They come apart. If you can get by that, by putting that
Russ.
additive with ZDDP, zinc additive to it, it's going to keep that thing lasting longer. Like Shannon says, 300,000 is not uncommon on one of these, but 70,000 is not uncommon for one not using additive. So make sure you use
He might even just consider using a Joe Gibbs type racing oil on every oil change. That's old enough that it was right on that verge between having it well protected inside with the metals they used and not. And so that would be a thing. And just keep an eye on the front differential joints, ball joints. Those are solid axles on there, and they can eventually wear out with that many miles, and you'll get a loose front end and be chasing it all over the road more than you want. But have some fun with it.
Does that help you out there, Patrick?
Yes, sir. Of course. I got one more question.
Okay.
So it's got the original automatic trans on it with the 170,000. Would y'all recommend doing just a flush, or take it apart, change the filter inside of it, and just do a whole new fill on it?
Flush it. Just do a complete flush on it. Okay. With that many miles on it, it wouldn't hurt to pull the pan and change the filter, but I'm not saying change the filter because you're doing a flush. I'd like to take it off just to inspect it and see how much garbage is collected in the bottom of the pan, just to give myself a little feeling of how long the trans might last. Because when you're doing a flush, that filter really should only be collecting heavy parts, like metal parts that come out and get in the bottom, to keep the transmission protected when it does have to be rebuilt, that it doesn't suck metal up into the pump and destroy the thing and destroy the valve body. But it gives myself a peace of mind if I take one off and I see that the filter's pretty clean, the pan looks good inside, no issues going on. Then I put it back together and then do the flush after I put the pan back on it.
Patrick, thanks very much for the call. I'm glad he got through. He sent a message, and he was going to try and call in during the show. So, Patrick, thanks very much. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Bob. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Bob, what can we do for you?
Morning, guys. Hey, I got a ghost in my garage. It keeps opening the tailgate on my Explorer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it one of those tailgates that raises up on its own, or does it just go click and unlatch?
Okay.
It actually raises on its own.
I don't like those because they bang into stuff.
Yep. So have you guys heard of anything like this?
Yeah. So have you tried to, when you walk away from your vehicle, get the keys, all the keys and key fobs far enough away from the vehicle that there's no way that they can activate to do anything? Have you tried that yet? or taking the batteries out?
By trial and error. That's the only way that you don't come out in the morning and it's open is if you lock the vehicle and take the key fob. But if you take the fob and leave it unlocked, it'll open during the night.
And Russ, what you're saying is shut down the car and then go throw the key fobs in the woods for the night.
Yeah, I would say if I'm testing
and that's
this,
what he's saying he does. If he takes the key fobs out and locks it, it won't do it.
if I was testing it myself, I would take these key fobs. If it was in my shop, I'm going to take the key fobs, get out of the vehicle, leave it unlocked because that's when it normally does it. I'm going to take the batteries out of both of the key fobs, and I'm going to set them on the desk so I know it can't send a signal. If it still does it at that point, then I've got to dig a little further. The further would be go back to the latch on that back door. We've had some water intrusion problems in some of them. When the doors are locked, Bob, that rear hatch won't open. You can't push the button on it, unlock it, because the doors are locked. When they're unlocked, a little bit of moisture across that switch, and it opens it. So our second step after the key fobs, which is your easy thing, is to pop the cover off that back door, which you can do at home. It's not too hard. YouTube will show you how to do it. Nope. Oh. And then look at the wire that goes to that latch that you push the button on. Just unplug it. Then close it. Leave your batteries in your remotes. Walk away.
Unlock.
If it does not open, that switch is bad in the handle. The handles are readily available. You can replace them yourself. Not bad. But we've seen a lot of those handles go bad and either not open it or open on their own. With the doors unlocked, you're going down the road, and they open. You're like, oh, what's going on? And when we're looking at the scanner, it says rear handle was activated while we were driving. Well, let's unplug it. Now it's fine. So start with the key fobs, easy thing. Second, unplug that handle button on the back and see if it's fixed. Does that help you?
Because that does not work now.
Well,
That's
if it does,
how we've always opened it.
Okay.
By manual, just pressing the button. And that does not work now.
That's a pretty good indication that part is bad then. If it doesn't work, it's probably got a little short across it with some water, and the contacts are probably open and falling on each other in there. So they don't work when you push the button, but a little bit of temperature change and vibration and boom. So let's unplug that switch first because you got to put a new one in anyways to make it work. But unplug it and see what happens.
And don't ever discount the fact it could be a ghost.
It could be.
That could be like Nellie and her Escort 20 years ago, whose garage door kept going up and down by itself.
There's things that we don't understand
every time she started the car.
It's probably. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say, Bob, it's probably a ghost.
We'll just leave you with that.
Yeah. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us. Let's talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood show. Mike, what can we do for you?
Well, I've got a 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Driving down the road, it keeps switching channels on if I'm listening to the radio. And when it's doing the switching the channels, I have no control over the climate controls on the pad or anything.
I'm going to say it's probably a ghost, Mike.
I'm going to say he's a friend of Bob's.
Do you guys live near each other on an old graveyard?
Yeah. Yeah, but the neighbors are quiet.
That's the way I like
answer.
Well, all your steering wheel controls, those buttons, go together on the same wire, believe it or not. And you're like, well, how does it do that? Well, they all have different resistance built into them. And they go from the steering column, they meet together and go down the column through the clock spring, which is a sliding electrical contact in there, cable that spirals up. And then it runs over to your radio, and it controls your radio, your air conditioner.
I have to think that whoever first recognized that must have felt great when you realize that you can just use one wire and send different signals through it.
Change the world.
Must have been great.
Resistance.
Yeah.
I can think of some electronics that use that. For the first time I saw a door lock on a car, it was on a Ford Probe, and it had one wire for the door lock. I went, how can we have one wire? It grounded in the door, and then it had one wire. It said lock and unlock for a remote start. And I said, how am I supposed to unlock it and lock it? Well, you give it a full ground, boom, and it would lock. And then you put a resistor in, hit that one, and it would unlock it. Oh, so we had to start to try to teach other people in the shop who had no idea of electronics how to figure this out. So with this, Chris, they use like 5 to 10 different resistance depending on how the system is built.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a short in the clock spring, it will not allow this to work because you've got a different resistance. And when it's not working for one, nothing else will work either. So let's say you're cranking around the wheel, the wires are touching inside, the radio's going up and down, maybe your fan's going up and down too. All of it's dead because you can't do two at once. If you got a brand new car that's working and you try to turn the radio up and change the channel at the same time, usually it won't work. Usually something else will go.
Back hatch will open.
Maybe the cruise will set.
Yeah.
Something weird, but it sounds like you probably have what they call the clock spring or the sliding contact. They call them different things. That's failing. So that's if you go into a shop and they say, yeah, you're going to need a new clock spring. That's a very plausible item.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Now let's talk to Ken in Idaho. Ken, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, fellas. Hey, I got a little problem with a Kia Rio. If the check engine light come on, I went and had the read the computer thing, and it said it needed a portage valve solenoid. So, and they didn't supply it. They don't stock them, so they said it was a dealer supply item only. But I found one online. Disconnected the battery, installed the valve. The light went out. A check engine light went out, and within about 4 or 5 minutes, the light went back on. But they told me when I had that diagnostic test done, that it might take a few days for it to go out, that light. Well, it's been over 30 days, probably closer to 45, and the light is still on.
Just to say one thing here for people listening, these are not airplanes. The diagnostic port is not connected.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, keep going.
It's not giving live data from a particular part.
Oh, I got you.
It's giving data from a system.
And you think an airplane does that?
Systems. You've told me airplanes do better. They have more.
They do better, but not all of them.
They've got next level
I
diagnostics.
see what you're saying, though.
Actually, I like the new ones, but I prefer the one that gives you no data. I
didn't mean I could get into that. So I just thought I was saying something intelligent and I blew it.
No, it's actually
no, you're
really
right.
good.
I'm with you.
But
really
this is a pretty basic system because that trouble code is coming from the evaporative emissions system. And the most likely part is what it'll tell you should replace. And we just see this so often where people, and it works so much that I don't mind people taking the gamble either. They'll say, hey, here's the part it should be. Get this part, you put it in, and many times it works. Check engine light goes away, never have the problem again, and you are a hero because you spent a little bit of money.
Zero.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of money and fixed the problem. But in this case, if that light came back on again, or is it for the same code?
Well, I haven't had it reread or anything like that. It's just, I just assumed, they told me that it would take a while for that light to go off. That's true.
Well, yes and no. I'm giving you a guess here. I think this is what happened. I think
we do a lot of guessing on this show, by the way.
Well, I think since you didn't clear it and it went off for a short period, did you put the valve on yourself?
Yes.
Good. So if the dealer did it, they probably cleared it out and then it came right back on right away. But since you put it on and the light was out for a short period, my guess is...
Or did you clear it?
Well, no, he doesn't have a scanner.
Oh, that's right.
So you put it on, the light went off because it tested itself and said, solenoid's working. Now that I'm working, let's test the rest of my system that can't be tested when the valve doesn't work. So it went into its normal test, flow tests, all that, and now you have a different code like, vent solenoid. Your purge valve's fixed, but now the vent solenoid or leak in the fuel tank because the cap is bad. Yes, I think you're going to find a different code. And some of those, yes, if you don't clear it, take up to a week or two to clear.
Different drive cycles the car has to go through, different events that have to happen.
Other things immediately. So every time you start it, I think that the Kia looks at that valve when you start the car up, and if the circuit's good, it just leaves the light off. So I think you replaced a bad part, but you've got another one on there now as well. And you're going to find when you scan it, hopefully you have a different code, but it's related to that emission system. So you know, hey, I fixed the one. Now I've got another one I need to fix. And it could be a leak, could be as simple as the gas cap has a poor seal on it.
Or it could be a completely different system.
Yep. But more than likely
Okay.
that.
Does that help you out there?
Yeah, it will. The vehicle runs fine. Fuel mileage is great. I mean, everything was perfect on it. But it's just this light. I don't know. Maybe it'd be cheaper just to get one of those little smiley face stickers to put on it.
Chris has one that's got his face on it.
Yeah.
And it says, I fixed it. And it
yeah.
The thing you see on the gas pumps that said, I did that? Yeah. Well, he's got one that says, I fixed it. And it goes right over your check engine light, thumbs up.
It doesn't say I did that.
And I would say, too.
On the gas pump, there's a sticker with the face of somebody.
I know.
And it rotates through different people. And it's like, I did that, point at the price. So
I knew what you meant.
He's got one for the check engine light. It's got Chris's face, and it says, it points at the check engine light and says, I did that.
And I'll say this, Ken. If I took it in and they said the light should go off in a few days, 45 days is a lot sooner than I would call. Because I'd be like, that. I'd go, Russ, the light came back on right after we did that thing. It's been like a month, and you'd go, oh, no, that was back in 2018. Oh, okay.
Well, if it's only
I
one
it's
vehicle.
been running for 5 years that way.
If it's one vehicle that has a check engine light on and all your others are good, you're more apt to fix that than before. So at one point, our company had several vehicles that were older that all had check engine lights. We're like, we're not going to fix that. Right. But now we only have one in the fleet that had a check engine light on.
Fix it.
So it came in and they said, fix it. We're like, but that light's been on for 8 years. Right, but none of the other ones are now. So let's make sure we clean up the cobwebs in the corner. So now it's off.
There you go.
Yeah. Get a sticker from Chris.
Thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Boy, I don't know. We got like 1 minute left. Let's talk to Todd in Mississippi for a second. Todd, can we solve your problem in 1 minute?
Oh, gosh, we'll try. Okay. 96 Ford Ranger 2.3, 5-speed manual transmission. About a year ago, the alternator went out, and I had that repaired. Shortly afterwards, I noticed that the Ranger fires up great. If I let it idle, it'll idle forever. But if I put it in gear and try to go down the street, it'll stall until it warms up like 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
Then it's fine.
All right, 96 Ranger. What do we got there?
96 Ranger, put it in gear, it runs bad until it warms up good. Mm-hmm. That could be a vacuum leak, like your intake manifold gaskets are leaking a little bit. So once it warms up, they swell up, they seal up. Here's the problem. Can also be as it warms up, the fuel is flowing better because we've got injectors that are really dirty because of the age. We saw that even when these vehicles were 5-6 years old. So that's a couple things. My first started, I'd say if you were my customer, I'd say bring it into the shop. Let's start it up cold. We're going to drive it with a scanner on it, read and see what we're missing, fuel, air, spark, what's going on, and then address which one of those it is. But you will have to get it into a shop and have them look at it while it's cold.
Since it's happening, it's
happening every day.
Right.
So I'd want to see it because it's happening.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. Want to say hello to a couple people joining us on the chat. Bob in Cape Cod, thanks for joining us. And Lath is on a road trip. He's got some road condition updates if you're traveling across the country today. He's on his way out to Vegas and giving an update there on the winter weather situation.
Should be pretty clear sailing or no? I guess there was something on the national radar south of here.
Well, and if you go into he's over in the mountains.
Yeah, there could be anything there.
Yeah.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. He's pretty sure that's what he saw. 866-594-4150. And we've got Chris, who has been on hold from Oklahoma, where there's probably not snow in the mountains. Chris, welcome to the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Oh, thank you for taking my call. Got a 2012 F150. I bought it at 100,000 miles. And was told the transmission fluid had been flushed, took it in at 160, and the mechanic said, no, it's got the factory oil on it, didn't recommend flushing it, took it to a few other shops, They said the same thing. The dealer says to flush it. I'm now at 205,000 miles on the factory new transmission fluid. I'm not sure what I should do. It runs good. It shifts fine, except when it's below freezing. But once the oil warms up, everything shifts just fine. Wanting to get your take on it.
Well, the reason it's probably shifted hard below freezing is because it's probably a little gummed up. It's got some varnish on the valve body. I would have to inspect that fluid, and
it is
it's going to be
cherry black is what they told me.
Cherry black.
And for me,
I understand what you're saying.
Black cherry or cherry black?
I understand.
In my shop and my experience with this model transmission that you exactly have, it's going to be pretty dark at 60,000 miles or so. We see that. Not necessarily burnt and smelling burnt, but it's pretty cherry black. So we like to flush them at that point. I have pulled one pan off of one of those at about 100,000 miles because I was concerned, should I flush it or not? And I wanted to see how much clutch material was in it. And I didn't really find any in the pan. So I felt confident that I could flush it.
They did mention there was quite a bit of rubber in it.
Then do not flush it because you will probably lose the transmission. And also in our experience, we see that somewhere around the 250,000 mark, this transmission is getting replaced, even if it has been flushed regularly.
So you're advising him just to keep it going
until it's time to replace
budget
it.
for his reman transmission or good used transmission.
It's expensive enough to flush this one because of the dollar amount of the fluid in it and the time it takes, because it's not a standard hookup flush. You got to dump it into the fill hole while you're pulling it out. It's kind of a mess. But, once the transmission is changed, if you're going to keep the truck and it's got 250 on it and you do put a new trans in it or just a low mile used one, keep that flushed. We're going to be going earlier on it for sure. 40 to 60,000 on that we're seeing, because they that's just kind of what that one needs, that model. But yeah, once they get that dark, and if it's got that much in it, I wouldn't flush it. For me, I did flush it because this guy had never towed anything with it. He just drove it, an older gentleman that just drove it, and now and then.
Give me a ballpark on what it's going to be to put a transmission in it.
We've done a couple of them used we put in that were about $2,800 installed.
Okay.
And the new price, I don't know, because he had told me what other places said, and they were like $4,200. So it was definitely worthwhile to put a certified used in with our year warranty on it.
So if Chris starts saving $250 a month, by the time this thing goes out, he'll be in there, right?
Yeah. And
you can they quoted me $3,700 on it. Yeah,
for a reman. Yeah, so then that's right in there. So if it's $37 for a reman, you're probably going to be in that 2 range for a, just check and see. It's always a good thing to check that used option,
and you
especially when it's got
go to
a
our
warranty.
partner's Car-Dash Part, and you can search that up and see who near you might have a transmission they've taken out of a truck. And then I'll just always give advice to people. If you're out searching for parts on the internet, I could spend a little time on this at some point, but if you're going to search for parts, make sure you get a VIN number. And if you don't know the operation or don't know the people, do a VIN check on it.
Okay.
Just make sure they're being straight with you on the miles.
Okay.
And you should always get the VIN from the source vehicle that the part came out of.
Yeah, interesting, because I don't.
Yeah, I could spend a whole segment on this with something we got going on with some people trying to scam people using our likeness, and so I could go into a long little dissertation about this if we get some time. But if
we're getting the time,
we're going to make the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I really want to alert people. But one thing though, always have a VIN number of the source of the major component. And if you don't feel comfortable or you can't see a video or a picture of the vehicle that it's coming out of, like at our place, we'll actually take video and we show the odometer lit up so you can see that everything works. We got the miles right in there. That technology is there. Don't compromise it.
Chris, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Oregon and talk to Rob. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Rob, what can we do for you?
Hey, I got an 05 Toyota Tacoma. It runs pretty good. Got about 160,000 miles on it. I guess my problem is, it's not really a problem. It runs great. When I first started up, there's a hesitation there. Just a little bit, and it fires right up. Sometimes it'll just, die on me. and I get the key again, and it just fires right back up.
I was expecting more.
How about when it's warmed up?
I was waiting for more.
Well, that might be good.
Yeah, after it warms up, it does it when it's warmed up too sometimes. But I've already changed the plugs out on it. Already changed the coil packs on it. I'm pretty religious on keeping it, everything nice and oil changed and air filter cleaned and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't know what it is. I don't have any dash lights or anything on, no warning lights or anything.
Is this a four-cylinder or six-cylinder?
It's a 4.0 V6.
All right. Well, knowing what we know about Toyotas and their tendencies to do certain things, it wouldn't surprise me, even though you've done your basic tune-up, your plugs and wires things on it, or coil boots, and depending on what engine, what vehicle, things like that, dirty fuel injection systems really account for a lot of startup hesitation issues. Sometimes when you're going down the road, they get overcome by pressures and RPM and torque and all that stuff. But when it's cold and you're first starting, you can get that hesitation because of gum and varnish buildup in the injectors and on the back of the valves and things like that. And our partner over at B-12 Chem Tool makes
Berryman.
They make several different products to clean out fuel injection systems to get rid of this gum and varnish buildup. And it's amazing when you've done all the work, you've done all the hard parts, maybe you've even had it into a shop, and then you can finish the job by pouring something into your fuel tank to help clean that stuff off. It's great when you can do something that simple. And because it's that simple, I would recommend using Berryman B-12 in the fuel tank and see if that cleans it up. Now, it's going to probably take 100 miles of driving to notice the difference. And if you do notice the difference, run it through that tank of gas, run it in a second one while it's still, running good to just get it good and clean, and then use as needed to keep that system
also
clean.
take some time and get the products to clean up the throttle valve, throttle body.
That's a spray in.
Yeah, mass airflow sensor. Just clean that all up too, and I think you'll find that you might solve your problem.
Okay, I do run Lucas in it pretty much all the time, fuel treatment, and I forgot to say I do use. I try to use, not all the time but I'm pretty religious. I try to use one single fuel all the time. I try to run 92 in it. It recommends 91 for the manual, but I try to use like Chevron Supreme 92 in it too all the time. But I haven't had anything apart, like you said, but I haven't tried the what is it, the B-12, you said, the Chem Tool?
Berryman B-12 Chem Tool. It's a little stronger chemical that can do some serious cleaning on those things. I would give that a shot.
Stock air cleaner in this vehicle?
No, I actually have I just put about 10,000 miles. I put a K&N air filter in it.
Okay. Well, you might just want to make sure that with the application of the oils, that you didn't get extra oils that would have vapored into the throttle horn, the air horn, and gotten onto the mass airflow sensor. That cleanup would be probably very much in line if that's the case.
Yeah.
Rob, thanks very much for the call. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Yes, I've got that 2006 3500 Chevrolet with an 8.1 in it, Ellison automatic, in different times, pulling something behind it. It'll start pinging going down the road, let up, turn it off, start it, take off and go. There's no pinging.
That's not good. The pinging you're hearing, if it is detonation, that's harmful to the engine, and that is caused by either low-octane fuel or timing that's not correct. If you're able to shut it off and restart it, that can be from a couple different things. So if you restart it and it resamples the engine, looks at the timing, looks at the knock sensor, and says, hey, this is where we need to be, that can be low-quality fuel, even though it's not pinging when you restart it. And it could have a slight change in power you may notice when that happens as well. The other thing it could be is a failure in the knock sensor system in the vehicle. So the knock sensor, as you drive, it's looking at things and sees everything's fine. The motor is detonating a little bit, But if it has a failure, it's going to set a code. So when you restart the car, if the code's there, it puts it in a lower timing mode, so it's not going to ping. So it may have a failure. Have you scanned it both while it's pinging? Like if you're driving it and it's pinging, you pull over, you scan it, see if there's a code, and then when you shut it off and restart it, scan it again after you've restarted it and the pings goes away. Has anybody done that yet?
No, nobody's done that. We switched the mass air flow sensor about 10,000 miles ago.
Okay. I would start by scan it when it pings before you shut it off. And then when you shut it off and restart it, scan it again and see if there's a code in there. And it's possible that you're going to come up with a knock sensor code or something timing related in there, cam crank correlation, something like that. And look at the fuel trims and see where you are, because it may be that you've got an oxygen sensor bad too. And what's happening is it's running a little lean, or it's pinging, and then you restart it and it changes because it's reading that sensor differently. So I'd want two readings, with it making noise and with it out making noise.
How many miles are on this truck?
130.
That's not bad for the age. That's actually pretty good miles. But it's also at the age too where you can start getting some build up behind the valves, and you start compromising the fuel injection system a little bit too. You don't get the typical atomization of the fuel going into the cylinders. So I mean that's always something to look at too. But this sounds different the way you're saying it'll come and go with turning it on and turning it off.
Yes, it does that. Should the check engine light come on then?
Not necessarily.
Come on.
Yeah, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Just depends on what code it's setting and how bad the failure is. If it's within its range, if there's a range of 1 to 10 on a sensor and it's a 9.9, it'll never turn the light on, but you could hear the activity, the problem, or you could feel it, but it's not quite enough to tell the computer we've got a dangerous situation, let's turn this thing on. But if you're hearing it going down the road, towing, I don't like hearing spark knock at all. Occasionally you might hear a little tiny bit that's goes away if you're pulling something really heavy, like when you first accelerate. But boy, it shouldn't do it constantly, because that means you have an ignition it's igniting before the piston's all the way at the top, and it's trying to force that piston down before it's made its way all the way to the top and is ready to go back down, and that's hard on parts.
Creates a ton of heat and pressure inside. What fuel are you running?
Oh, just straight gasoline.
But like 87 octane?
89%. 87, there you go, yes.
That truck needs more than 87, at least 89.
Try some of the 89 with the 10% or 15% ethanol, E15 and E10. Get that higher octane rating and see if it changes any.
Yep, and then if that doesn't work or it gets a little better, try the 91 in it and see if it goes away. It may be that the vehicle's got enough carbon buildup in the cylinders.
That's what I'm thinking.
That you may have to go with a higher octane than what the factory recommended or suggested.
And then you're going to need like a professional fuel injection cleaning to see if you can bring some of that life back from.
Try to clean it up.
Get that carbon cleaned up.
Larry, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. I've had 2 occasions in the last week to identify a noise and then talk myself into a conundrum. I've said both times I recognized the noise. One was the compressor in the air shocks.
Okay.
And the second time was lifter noise. And both times I said, oh, hey, sounds like you got some lifter noise there. And then they were like, I do. What's going on there? What is the problem? And then I was stuck. I couldn't help.
I couldn't go any further with that one.
I had no idea what it could be or what it was. But so now they're like, oh, really? What's the problem? I have no idea. So now they even doubt that it's lifter noise or compressor noise.
Have they listened to you enough to know that they should go get it checked?
Yeah, they actually, what happened was they both knew and they were trying to figure it out. And when I diagnosed it, or when I identified it, they were like, oh, good, someone else knows something. And I didn't. I was just called out sitting there.
Awesome. Do you want to know about my scam thing?
I do. Let's go.
All right. People go online, and I didn't realize how much this was happening until we realized how much it was happening. People go online looking for items that they're trying to find and buy.
I want a bumper. Where can I find one?
Engine, bumper, and there's a number of different part searches out on the internet you can go to. The majority of them, like Car Dash Part, they'll auto match you with a part that somebody has, and they'll tell you it's this facility. You call them direct. You make the contact and the lead. It's your connection. It's your conversation. It's your purchase. It's your deal to do. There are other ones that when you don't find parts, it's a lead generator, and they'll ask you to put in your phone number or email or whatever it might happen to be so that someone that is in the business can contact you. Well, there is someone that is not in the business, that's acting like they're in the business, that is calling people or texting people immediately after they make one of those submissions in a few of the very popular sites that are out there, and they are posing to have the part that the person is looking for, because it also leaves a little bread trail, a popcorn trail that says what part you're looking for. So they already know, and they'll reach out to you and say, well, Fred, I see you're looking for a 4.0 liter engine for a Pacifica. They're pretty hard to find, but I can get you one. And they'll quote you a price that is attractive and available. They'll quote you shipping times. They'll tell you everything about this part, and they're going to be a little pushier than the average salesperson. And when it gets down to it, you'll probably ask, what would be a question you ask if you got contacted by somebody that wanted to sell you a part or something? What would be a question that you would ask, Chris?
Where are you located?
There you go. Or better yet, what's the name of your business?
Right.
So what these people are doing is, it's happened to other people than us. They send them a not a screenshot, but a link to our front page of the NordstromsAuto.com website. And then they tell the buyer that they are Better Business A+ certified. Take a look at our website, all the reviews that we've got. We're a family-owned business, and we're going to take care of you. They represent themselves as me.
Oh.
And then once you're excited about this, because you see this looks like a very reputable place. This looks like some place I could do business with, which we're proud to have that reputation, but these folks are really beating it up. And then they'll say, well, we need you to send us some money. Can you do Zelle? Can you do wire transfer? Credit card will not be an option. I've actually called one of these people and talked with them a little bit. He did ask me to send a check, but we never got to the point of what address I was going to send the check from. They've even spoofed a South Dakota phone number that they're using when they send their information. And so we've had people calling us on a regular basis for the last 2 weeks that have either wondered if we had this part or have already wired the money. The one lady felt so bad for. She had wired over $4,000 to get an engine that doesn't exist. And this is not an uncommon practice in other industries. I found out too that the scammers work these angles. So when you go out and you're looking for something, that is definitely something to consider. And you need to ask some of those key questions. What's the VIN number? Where's it shipping from? Can I call you back?
That's a big one.
Can you text me a quote? Can you email me a quote? And it's just, there's a number of things you can do to kind of ferret out. And typically these people will get cold feet once you've started asking questions, and they're going to go away. But if they can catch a fish, they'll take it.
Oof.
Bad deal. Really bad deal.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
Welcome back to the Under the Hood Show. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie fan club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Jerry Wilberg and Todd Lang. Congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. You can find them at uti.edu.
Double hoodie.
Wilberg and Lang, I have their first album. The second one I used to have, but I sold it at the used record store.
I just visited them about some legal matters.
Exactly.
I got one from Cheech and Chong, but unfortunately in the fire it went up in smoke.
Oh, boy. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us. What has caught your attention in the automotive world? Besides this, I can't imagine what a headache and disappointment it must be to deal with that. That is a nightmare, really.
We were talking about the scam thing
Yeah.
before the break, and at first we thought it might have just been a scattered incident, but we've got at least 25 people that have contacted us from all over the country that have been either attempted victims of this scam or they are victims. And so I'm working with our state's attorney general's office.
And is this
Consumer
just
Protection
them Googling? How are they getting to and do you know the website they're getting to or not?
We have
really?
our high suspicions of a couple that are the most likely culprits for this thing to be coming from consistently. So I'd rather not say yet until we get things a little more ironed out. I'll just tell you that if you're in a lead generating search, and I don't care if it's auto parts you're looking for or whatever, it could be construction equipment, it could be a number of things. Boy, just make sure you don't get so excited to find what you're looking for or so compelled to find a deal that you just give money away, because you can go really broke on a good deal. There's another place we found where these come from is Facebook Marketplace.
Ooh.
And when I get onto my marketplace in my local market, I see consistently somebody has got an advertisement showing these rows of engines, like engines, amazing.
Your engines.
And something, they're not mine, but they're somebody's engines, and they're not the person selling them.
Or a 2010 Jeep Wrangler for $1,500.
Yeah, or they're just preying on people's instincts to get a deal. And so then you reach out to them. Yep, I can help you with that. I can help you with that. And they're going to help you all right. They're going to take your money and send you something either junk or nothing.
And I've had my eye and attention caught a couple times because I'll see, let's say I'm looking for a Jeep Wrangler engine. And I know because I've looked around lots of places, they don't have them. But if they did, they're $3,900.
Exactly.
I see one for $1,500 and I go, scam. But instead of $3,900, I see it for $3,450, and the mileage is similar. And I go, oh, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Let me look more. And I start digging, and I say, that looks good. That looks good. They're full of it. I just caught on.
You know that
because I work in the industry.
And that's the hard part. You know that.
And you're 10 minutes deep.
Yep. Too cheap, and it's a scam. Yeah. Too expensive, I'm not going to look at it.
Folks that I got involved with when I reached out to them and played customer just to see. They couldn't understand why I was calling them, but the one was eager enough that he just kept talking to me.
Sure.
But I was looking for a Duramax diesel engine, is what I said, and they gave a price that was just, I'd say, 20% below market price, so they were using a competitive price.
Hooked me in.
Then they wanted to know freight, and I heard no keypad typing. I heard nothing. It was just, let me check on your freight. What's your zip code? And so then they came back and they gave me a total price, and it was all just orchestrated. The voice was not bad, but we suspect they're probably not even in our country. They're probably in India or somewhere like that. We suspect, but pretty good voice and I'd say pretty good salesman. They did ask a lot of good questions. I should have recorded it and played it as a sales training video.
If you're working as a scam artist right now out there listening to us, there's a lot of places that need good salespeople. So if you want to turn your life around and actually sell stuff for real, come put in an application at one of these places that's really looking, because the world needs good employees right now. They don't need scam people. One of these days you're going to get caught and it's all going to be over.
You might have just solved it. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dan. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Dan, what can we do for you?
So I have a 2018 F150.
Do you?
3.5 EcoBoost. Got about 57,000 miles on it. And coming home from the cities the other day, last Saturday, check engine light came on, car started chugging a little bit. I immediately pulled it off the side of the road, shut everything down, did a walk around, see if I could see anything, and started back up. Seemed like everything was running fine. Check engine light was on. Got into Mankato, and I pulled into an O'Reilly's and used their scan tool, and it said misfire on 2 and 4. I took it to the Ford dealership in Mankato and had to leave it there and come home and called them on Monday morning, and they said there was a code talking about retarded timing with the cam phasers or some issue with the cam phasers. And they did a little bit of work and whatever, said they operated some stuff and good to go. Went to picked it up on my way back to Sioux Falls, and check engine light came back on. I take it to Sioux Falls Ford, and they say they gotta redo that whole timing thing with the cam phasers and $2,500. So I guess my question is, what possibly could they have done in Mankato other than just reset the codes?
Well, when we see this in our own shop, sometimes we see that phasers have become gummed up with sludge and things like that, and I typically don't charge a ton of money to check these things out. We just do a standard diagnosis of what's wrong. We might put some oil system cleaner in it, use the scanner to activate and deactivate the timing solenoids in order to clean out the solenoids in their screens and get the phasers to move. And then once they're operating well and the vehicle's warmed up and we've driven it and got it to activate on its own, then we'll change the oil, see if the code's gone. And if it's cleared up, then we tell the customer.
So you could spend a couple $100 doing
and
that?
then we tell the customer, look, it's gummed up because these things need more oil changes than what the dash says when that light comes on. You need to be doing it like 3,000 miles,
and
3
you
months.
got to use the right oil.
Yeah, not 6 months or 8 months or 12 months in some cases, or 7,000 or 8,000 miles because we went by what's on the dash. Let's do them earlier because that's 90% of all our engine failures are oil maintenance issues that have caused them over the years. And some of the oil is just not very good anymore, so it's just not as good. We got to do it more often. So they probably did that, and then it's just a check, though. We're going to try that, and if it doesn't work, the only thing they could have done more for you to help would have been to say, we've tried this, and explain to you just like I did what we did, and then said, now if this doesn't fix it 100% or it comes back again, you're going to need to replace the timing components. We need to put a new chain and guides on it and tensioners and solenoids and phasers.
And to be fair, there are many situations where all of this could have transpired, and it was just hey, this guy's here from there,
Yeah,
and
but the thing that makes me a little sour sometimes, and we all kind of did.
Sometimes, or in this case,
we all have made a funny face when he said what was going on, and we had a hunch of what might be coming.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's at a Ford dealer, they know about this.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean.
They know about this.
What they might have been doing is going, hey, let's get him home, and he's going to have to do this. But they should have told him that, right? Dan, did you have any discussion with them about that at all?
No, they were just like, yep, this should solve your problem. They didn't say, this could be a temporary, you might have to do some more work or anything like that. It's like, yeah, you should be good to go.
Well, and they could have, like I said, they could have cleared the codes, they could have activated those solenoids, and they might have had it working fine for the drive cycle that they put on it and thought, you know what, this is going to be okay. But I would have educated a little bit more, but there is that fine balance between scaring a customer and informing.
Yep. Yeah, there's just some things it could have been. We weren't there, so we don't know what was said.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes I've talked to a customer, I can't even really remember everything I said, but they swear I said one thing, so I just say, okay, well, let's get it in, let's check it out. Then I go back and listen to the recorded phone call, and I hear that, oops, I was completely wrong, or I listen to it, and I say, no, I told him 4 times.
Exactly.
It will probably not fix it, but let's try this, and hopefully it takes care of it. And all they hear is, oh, it'll take care of it. They don't hear the hopefully, just it'll take care of it.
We, the customers, would never do that.
I'm going to ask, in fear of I'm going to ask, how much did you pay in Mankato?
$200, like
that's
$214 or $212 or whatever.
It was probably diagnosed. And
I don't want to spend $200, but
they did the right thing trying to check it out, but they're just, we didn't have the rest of the communication.
And there's nothing they did that hurt anything. This damage was already done.
When you got it somewhere else, they probably would have done the other thing first as well to try to fix it, and then said, all right, it's not taking care of it. We're going to spend some more. So either way, you would have had to spend the more.
And then you might have a conversation that they wrap up some of that expense in the bigger repair or something like that.
And
so
they did you some service because they they tried to do it the less expensive way, or at least they started with the diagnosis instead of just saying right off, we're going to put the big expensive parts on there and it'll fix it for sure. We guarantee that. But we took your money right up.
And a tow home from Mankato would have cost a lot of money.
Right. That's what I think. It seems to me from the outside that the only mistake here was communication.
Quick question. How many miles are on this?
About 57,000.
Oh.
Well, we've repaired these at that miles, and
Make
a lot
sure
of times it's oil.
and double check your maintenance and what oil you're using and raise the game on that when you get it put back together.
Dan, thanks very much for the call. Sorry about that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Luke. Luke, let me push the button and say, Luke, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Hey, I was just curious, how did that Kurt Echo deal Shannon was talking about last week work out for him?
It worked out perfect. I used it, and it was when I got out in the parking lot. I had never encountered this device other than somebody had handed it to me in the morning.
Tell people again what it is, because Chris wasn't here, and that they're not a sponsor or partner of ours in any way.
Maybe they could be.
You just needed to stop.
Yeah, I have a new Silverado truck that has an engineering problem that the factory trailer brake is not working, the integrated trailer brake. And so I've been playing around trying to figure out a way to get a trailer brake to work before I went on my snowmobiling trip, because that's typically a time in the winter when you want to make sure your trailer brakes are working right.
For sure.
And on the last minute, coworker Chad had said, "Hey, I've had a problem with my old truck, and I bought one of these." And Sturdivant's Auto Parts had helped him find this Kurt Echo.
I used to work with him. Yeah, he's a really good guy.
Kurt Echo. And kept coming back all the time. But the plugged it into your 7-pin connector, and then you plug your trailer harness into this device. It extends out your hookup about 6 inches. So they have a strap that comes with it, so you can strap it to your hinge on your thing so it doesn't fall out. I also put a zip tie around it just to make sure, because it wasn't mine. And they cost give or take $300 or less. And then I'm like, okay, how do I use this? He had said it was an app, so I downloaded the Kurt Echo app, and I have the app open, and I'm trying to initialize it, and it says, okay, put in your PIN. And I'm like, okay, where's the PIN? Where's the PIN? Okay, I remember seeing a tag on the inside of the flap of it. So I went back and I pulled it out. It was really cold out, too, by then I was leaving. And so I pulled the flap up, and it says right on a white sticker on the inside, PIN, right on the device.
What was it?
I'm kidding. I don't remember, 511836.
You're controlling your neighbor's
and
Echo.
So I put it in there, and it says I had to put a little profile in there, and boom, there it was. And it automatically was defaulted to a light amount of trailer braking, and I could activate it with a big orange button that I pushed on my phone, and I could set gain to figure out how quick the braking comes on.
Shut up.
And I also could determine how much power output could go through it. And so what it was using was the signal. I believe I figured this out. It's the signal from the taillight wiring, and then somehow inside that unit, they're crossing it using the power voltage that's there for just the main power feed that goes through, and then rerouting it to sensitize trailer brakes. And so it was a ad hoc. In less than 5 to 7 minutes, I installed, used, and had trailer brakes my entire trip. I had to play with the gain a little bit.
Wow.
And I could get it pretty sensitive, or I could have it not so sensitive. And I didn't have to keep the app open on my phone. It was a Bluetooth connection. If I lost connection, it defaulted to the last remembered setting that I had given it. Wow. And so in case you lost connection with your phone, or your phone went dead, or that sort of a thing, I bought one. I have one now I can just have for different trucks that don't have a trailer brake, and eventually they'll get my truck figured out, I hope.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I was a little bit worried about cross signals because when my truck starts, my original trailer brake will work for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
And then it errors out, and I was kind of concerned about whether it would be
shutting it off,
just screwing something up. And
bypasses that, though, doesn't
it appears to bypass it and didn't cause any problems.
Does that amaze you like it does me, or am I just naive?
Well, I'm glad they came out with this because I have seen others that work like this, but they have a remote control that go inside the cab. So you plug this unit in the back, and then you have a gain control inside, but it doesn't work like this. It uses the older ones I saw were 7-8 years ago, and they use the factory brake wire, but then this unit back there is your gain. So it's like 100% without it. And then and it required some rewiring. The one I have now is a factory brake type controller, and it mounts up under the dash, but then I just have one switch on my console. So when my arm's laying on the console, I can just reach over and change the gain with my finger and adjust it. And I like that. Wow. This thing though is really sweet because I do have one vehicle that doesn't have, it's got a wire going back to that's hot, but it has no brake wire. I don't really want to wire it. It's worth $300 to me to not wire it.
Yeah, and I originally bought a really nice trailer brake you can buy a nice trailer brake setup for $100 with an adapter harness made for my truck because I had a plug-in up there with the trailer towing package, and we weren't sure how that would work. Plugged it in, it wouldn't power up anything because it has the integrated brake control. All that is rerouted somewhere, either in the controller or somewhere. But yeah, no, Luke, does that answer your question? It was a really neat device.
Yeah, it answered. And another question about that. No, did it give you that same error on your dash saying that service trailer brakes?
I did not.
Well, you didn't even get that at all.
I did not get that.
The reason it wouldn't do that is because it bypassed it.
Yep.
I just thought about that.
No, I did not get the warning.
Completely
never got it on the entire trip. I never even thought about that until you asked me that question.
Doesn't know a trailer's plugged in.
Luke, thanks very much for the follow-up question there. That is a good...
Well, it did know a trailer was plugged in because I've got automatic feedback that tells me when a trailer's plugged in, tells me which trailer I got hooked up, and everything on my dash. So
they just thought it didn't have trailer brakes, so it didn't give you a
There was no problem with the trailer brakes because it wasn't using them.
Huh. Wow. 866-594-4150. Thanks, Luke. Let's talk to Roger. You're on the Under the Hood show. Roger, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I have a 2020 F350. It's got about 52,000 miles on it now, but since about 20,000 miles roughly, I don't think the mileage mattered, but it has a really hard start when it's hot or when it's warm. Even when it's warm outside and it's been sitting an hour or so, it acts like it doesn't want to start, but it always does.
Is it a diesel or a gas engine?
7.3 gas.
7.3 gas.
Okay, I just had my moment there when he said 7.3, and my brain got broken because they've got that new 7.3 gas, and Russ had just asked diesel. And I had 7.3 diesel in my head. My brain was just broken there for about 5 seconds.
But it's a 20.
I know. No, that's what I mean.
So it's a 7.3 gas.
Oh, no, I know what it is, but my brain was broken.
For a second, you
with
were.
The question.
Yeah, yeah.
But we got listeners who are going, they didn't make a 7.3 diesel.
Yeah, I know. We just unloaded a 6.6 gas that's going to be a conversion for somebody to go in their hot rod, and it's a good-looking LS motor, and it's a 6.6 gas, and they make a 6.6 Duramax. If that doesn't screw up the parts, people. Whew.
It's gonna do it. I'm wondering if it's not. It sounds like it's flooding out. So when you shut this thing off hot, it's probably got a fuel injector that's dripping a little bit inside, and it's causing the thing to run rich. So when you start it, it's going to take longer to crank it. The one way to verify that is if you know it does it every single time when it's warm after it sits for like 10, 15 minutes, and you're going to start it, and it's going to be hard to start every time. Well, the next time you know for a fact it's going to do this, push the gas pedal all the way to the floor before you turn the key on. Keep it on the floor. Try to crank it. And when you crank it, if it fires up 3 times faster and then it clears out, you let off the pedal before it revs up too high and explodes.
Yeah, immediately.
Shouldn't do that. Yeah. Then you know that it's a fuel issue and you're getting too much fuel in there. And the way to fix that is they're probably going to have to, if it does that, they'll probably have to pull it to see which injector it is that's doing that. But I have seen a few vehicles do this. Caravans, we've had a number of them come in that had a sticking injector, and once that thing got warm, you shut it off, it's got fuel dripping, and it'll start fine cold actually faster when it's cold because it's got a little extra shot of fuel in it. But once it's warm, it's too much, and it loads it up. Sometimes you can see the little smoke in the back from the buildup of fuel too.
Hey, Russ, is it common and normal that when you have a fuel injected vehicle like that, all the way to the floor will kill the fuel injectors upon startup? Is that
all vehicles do that? All fuel injected vehicles, as far as I know, going all the way back to 1976 with the first electronic injection on the Cadillac Eldorado that was a throttle body.
Mm-hmm.
They started with that. And mechanical injection, I don't believe the mechanical injection like in the 57 Chevy would do that.
Probably
it
doesn't
would
matter
actually
to this conversation,
give more fuel. But electronic injection systems, it's pretty much been across the board. All manufacturers,
Before you start it, foot to the floor, that should
Shut
turn
it
your
off.
injectors off.
Mm-hmm.
And so
then you'll know if that's
well, just a good way to test.
Yeah.
That won't flood it out like the old carburetor then.
Nope. If you hold it all the way down, it's gonna shut the system off. If you get it all the way to the floor, if there's a floor mat under it, no, it won't work. But you got to get it all the way to the floor.
Okay. So it's a setting in the last carry of the
If
pedal.
you were looking at the scan data, it would say throttle 100%.
Okay.
Fuel off.
That's a good important part too.
The only time
we're
it doesn't
talking all the way
to the floor.
Yeah,
You don't have to
100%.
stand up on it. Just make sure your floor mat's not wadded up in behind.
No, I know, but it's not because he's nervous. I'm nervous when I'm starting it and I'm pushing it down because I don't want it to blow up.
But once the engine sees a higher speed than cranking RPM, let's say 600 RPM, 100% is full gas. It knows it's running. Once it knows it's running, it's full throttle at 100%, not shut it off
Right.
and push it to the floor.
Right.
I haven't seen that one happen yet, so hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah, that's what you get some learning there. I mean, there's some knowledge there, but it's specific. How's that? Is that a good way to say it?
It is.
Roger, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That'll do it for hour 2 of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us this week. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturt Events. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the podcast, do all the stuff that, right?
All that's good stuff. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. This has been the Under the Hood Show. For Russ Evans, Shannon Nordstrom, I'm Chris Carter. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Do it. Yeah, we get.
What are you talking about? I can't hear anything at all. And it's mute button. Yeah.
Welcome to the after show.
I can't probably should this works right now.
Yeah, we don't need. This is good
Should
though.
this be a problem?
All right, stop.
Go over there and unplug
everyone stop. Exactly.
And cut.
In just 5 seconds, you made me regret the upgrades to the studio. So welcome to the after show. And if you've noticed, if you're this far, if you're at the after show, you've noticed some differences. And we've made some changes to way
The audio is louder.
And the video that goes during the break and the lights on the mics.
And that'll
the
change, and the
cough
audio
button.
will change.
Yeah.
And stuff that
The
I
flying
wanted
saucer
to do.
in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a big gummy lifesaver.
There
It
are
does.
8. They don't make them anymore. It's called a jelly tally, and it's because it looked like a jellyfish. They said they were hand built, and because they were hand built, they couldn't sell enough of them.
Oh,
They didn't have. They're like, we couldn't go to full made in China production. So
Right.
maybe I shouldn't have said that word. I'll have to mute it out because they might cut our video
I
because I,
got to
said
mute
the C word.
right here. I can use.
Yeah. So, but anyways, they have like 12 colors, and then they'll spin like a UFO.
You have the
They'll
controller?
They'll go up and down. No, I have to plug them in differently. I
Oh,
hardwired it blue, but they will go top to bottom.
Now I know why they didn't.
There's
sell.
4 rows top to bottom. They will go around in circles, or they'll go in waves, and they've got one that's the patriotic setting, and it goes red, white, and blue, and it fades as it's going. But the blue is the only one that doesn't really glare on the camera, because in studio this blue is perfect.
Can
On
you
the
turn
camera,
the?
it's
Can you
lighter.
get the LEDs going disco?
Yeah.
No, I mean right now. Can you do that for me?
Hit the button, but
Yeah, just hit the.
yeah, I mean we got there's green, there's purple, there's
Isn't there a cycle on there too? I think you can.
yeah,
Oh.
there's a jump.
Got us. You want me to hold that further away so you can see it? Okay. Oh, look at.
Valentine's colors now for our loves.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
There's one of the auto buttons, so it does a fade and it'll change as we go.
I
but
like it.
We can't make it like a Christmas display.
I want it to
dance.
Yeah. Go.
I did have that one in here one time, and you guys were like, "That's just crazy."
Well, we're just playing around now.
Yeah.
not for every day.
That's what I want it to look like. I want it to look like this. Yeah, let's see. Can it dance to the music? No. Okay. Oh,
Russ is just pushing buttons now.
he's going, it's working. Shut up. So how was snowmobiling? Let's
It was
not
fun.
be too specific.
It was
but
very
how
fun.
Was it? Yeah?
Very fun. We had a good time. It was 5 of us went up there, and we were up in, we stayed in the Hayward, Wisconsin area, which is
Where'd you stay?
Sawyer County.
Shout out the lodge.
Shout out to the not super ambitious but really nice guy in the lobby at Flat Creek Lodge.
Okay.
They were, no, it was really good.
You could have just declined.
No, I don't know why I went there.
Yeah. How many
partners are listening to my guys that were with there?
How many sleds were you guys in your group?
Just 5 of us, and then we brought one extra just in case.
And did you have to use it?
No.
Okay.
There was a thought of using it, but we kept things in one piece. Nothing we couldn't figure out.
Okay.
But no, and the first day we rode, we took off at 10 in the morning, and it was 16 degrees below zero. Actual temperature.
Oh.
My seat was as hard as a rock. My suspension felt like it was not going to move. I've got a pretty nice suspension sled, and everything was just hard as a rock.
All right, I was wrong about the disco lights. Let's stop there. let's maybe cool it.
But no, I mean, if you enjoy snowmobiling and trail, it's trail riding more than anything. Sawyer County, Bayfield County, just wonderful areas up there, and just like a lot of places, the lakes that we normally go across, groomers haven't been on them because the lakes got so much snow so fast they didn't get a chance to get the hard freeze to them.
Yeah,
and they're just concerned. You know, we saw locally here somebody recently just in the Okoboji area, an older gentleman and their dog went through the ice driving on the.
Yeah, because the snow was like insulation, and even though it was 20 below zero for several days for the high in some places.
So be really careful on the lakes. They showed us video up there of the one guy at one of the places we stopped to get some grub was a guide also for fishing and stuff, and he showed us where some of the snowmobile guys had gotten off the trail to go do some ice fishing with a utility snowmobile, and all of a sudden it started sinking, and so the guy was hammering on it, and he was just channeling water. Out there, come up through the lake, and
you can drive for those Southerners we have listening. You can actually hit a lake going 70 miles an hour on a snowmobile in the summertime, right off the beach, and drive a quarter mile across the lake. If you keep going,
you got to keep on the gas. You got to have some decent,
and you
paddles.
got the right paddle track.
Yeah, exactly. So no, we had a good time. I got a chance to try my new sled out that I bought I bought it 2 years ago, and I didn't get it until the snowmobile season was over last year.
Mm-hmm. You kept it under 40,
so
right?
I've been slowly breaking it in, and so it was in full break-in, so I got to open it up a few times across the lake. And
40 miles an hour max.
Yeah, plus 70. It was good. It works well. That was just for a little bit. I had to see what it would do. But that's when I found that there was that's when I found out that the groomer hadn't been across the lake.
So dangerous. Dangerous.
Yeah, it just... Well, like gravel roads that aren't graded, you get whoops.
Yeah, whoop-de-doos.
They kind of make you pucker when you're going
going that fast. Yeah, I imagine they do. I mean, we were doing it back here, and we weren't even with you.
No, we had fun. We had a good time.
Right now.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Chris and I went snowmobiling up there in Canada. It's been like 4 or 5 years ago now, and that was fun. The biggest thing.
Just by the way, it is like the anniversary is like today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Was that 3-4 years ago?
February.
It's longer than that.
And
I'm thinking it's 9 years ago.
The memorable thing for me, other than the Dumb and Dumber picture we posed for, which was hilarious, it's still out on Facebook, with the helmets like, was that while we went on the trail ride, which is like a 4, 5, 6 hour, long trail ride we went on. You remember, Chris, at almost every corner when we went through the woods riding with this group of people, we turned the corner and there'd be airplanes.
Yeah.
Bush planes.
Yeah.
Sitting there, like, because we were around a bunch of lakes and they had the planes. It's like they drove them off the lake in the fall.
And parked them there.
They had wheels and floats, but they must have driven them down the road because they were a couple miles away from the lake, and they were just sitting there in the woods with a little shack because there's a lot of access that way up there. It was a neat little. It was Montreal.
Mm-hmm. We were in the. Oh boy, which mountain? We were at Mont Tremblant. Was the place?
Right.
What was the Laurentian Mountains?
Yeah,
that was it.
It was neat, but we weren't going that fast except for when we hit the frozen lake that was really rough. That's what reminded me of it.
Yeah.
And we pulled out they had us using the slow keys on the sleds, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are fine now." And they came back and they pulled all the learning keys out and stuck the full keys in, and went out there. And the one guy that was a guide,
a professional,
he had just got a new sled, and I think it was a Phaser or something. It was a nasty fast race sled. And he's like, I wonder how fast I can go. And the three of these guides were taking turns to see how fast they could go. And the one guy's like, I got her up to 130. And I don't think that was kilometers per hour.
It was not.
They were booking it. And he was like, this is pretty rough out there.
It was that. And so they went out on the sled and went around kind of a bend in the lake. And just came back and hit the opening full speed in front of us. So we had like a quarter mile of visibility end to end, and he went through it in a blink. It was. It was enough that we were like, everybody was like, oh, that was the general reaction. It wasn't like, wow. It was like, oh, geez. Oh, gosh.
I think ours were all limited to 70 or 75. And that was fast enough for as rough as it was, because we were getting, at that speed, we were getting beat. And I was like, I'm just going to slow down. I'm feeling old. I did. I was like, I'm just going to slow down. I'm fine. I don't need this anymore.
After 2 trips, we've learned now that the one guy that's really in charge, he knows the trails, knows where we're going. I don't know where we're going. He'll let me lead when there's a trail that's a long run, so I don't get lost. And we've learned that I don't think Shannon's going to get to lead anymore.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because there's always somebody that ends up having an event behind me trying to keep up.
Somebody crashed again, didn't they? Again,
they did not hit a tree this time, though.
Okay.
Oh, they did.
Hey, good.
Just rolled off the trail.
Yeah. That's not on you.
No. Just need to slow down a little bit, probably.
Oh my!
All right,
that's fun.
I think that's everything, right?
Yeah, it was a good show. I mean, I do have to compliment. Russ has been working in here, and you should have noticed a noticeable difference in the sound.
Yeah, on YouTube, really, because you're listening on YouTube now. We've worked hard to try to eliminate. You may not have even noticed it. A lot of people haven't, but the audio aficionados have. The ones that turn the volume up as loud as they can while we're on a break, so it should be quiet. Well, now it's 100% quiet. Mm-hmm. Before there, you could hear a little something that wasn't supposed to be there, and we've cleaned that up and changed some stuff in here and made our, the phone calls. You'll actually hear the phone calls are clearer now. Any weird audio in there is the cell phone.
Was that a result of why we had a little more crosstalk today with people, or was it different?
No, it's because we wouldn't shut up when they were talking.
It's you.
Was that just me?
It's us. It was me a little too.
Or we have some stubborn listeners.
Mostly
we just gotta wait. There's always, people on cell phones. You just gotta talk.
Sometimes I can't wait, and they want to keep talking, and I want to go.
I know.
So it is my problem?
I think so, yeah.
But was I going to get chastised after the show for this?
No, this is the after show.
But it happened 3 times to me today.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't say anything different.
I think my look, you'd covered it, right?
I mean, people know, like last week, I rolled the show after we were off the air, and if you watched, you would have seen that we were doing our ad production after the show, and we're the same there as we would be during the show. We're just who we are all the time.
It's true.
It would have been more hilarious, though, if it would have been about 4 weeks ago when you started reading an ad and you went, blah, 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 it'll kill your engine. Nope, we're not reading that. That is a lie. I wish that would have been recorded, because was the truth.
I started reading a commercial. I'm like, this is not true. We cannot read this commercial.
Yeah. No, we're not going to.
That's a good, that was, that's a good thing. I mean, when you hear us doing ads and when we talk about products, we don't say
the products that we would use.
Yeah. Right.
No, and we try to be the same. We don't have to try. We just do what we do. We're the same people on the air as off the air, because there's so many of them out there that are not the same.
Did you just hit the button?
I did. I was going to push it because I was going to be like, nothing. So see, it's all gone now. So I just instinctively hit the button.
I'm glad that button's there, because usually I have to rely on Chris if I have to sneeze or blow my nose or something. I'm like,
yeah.
By then, I'm already done it.
Right.
It's too late.
And I look at you and go, "What are you
doing?
Well, I've got the I'm working on the booger light here. That's going to go like this on the side.
Okay.
That the listeners and the viewers won't be able to see.
I'll
But
put it on the other side.
when we're live, like right now, your light would be off. Both of you, your light would be off because the camera is on Russ. It's on me. But when I stop talking and it goes to you, your red light will be on because it's on you. But if you see that the light is not off, it's
Would that
green.
be an additional light?
It's an additional. Listeners, viewers won't be able to see it but this light, if it's off, it means you're safe because somebody else is talking. The view is on us. But when we get quiet and the view is on the whole studio, it'll be green, which means people can still see you because it's a green light. It just means we're on
Why wouldn't
the air.
I just look at the monitor?
Well, you can, but then
your nose.
You'll
You're
do like this, like I do. Am I done talking?
Yeah.
And it looks like I'm looking at something because I'm always looking at something over here. I'm like, it's over there. I see it.
So
and I'm looking over there.
Talking that. So when this is book,
That's not. You do the old man thing now.
Yeah. But it looks, you're doing it from the wrong side, so they can't see that it's fake. Yeah.
I am a nose picker, so I don't know if you want to give me that feature. Yeah.
No, we want you to have it.
Well, no.
No, yeah, that's we
do not want to encourage more nose picking.
No, it's fine.
I was going to do it on these. I can put two colors up on these at the same, but then that gets really distracting for viewers. It's like moving a camera when they see this light changing all the time.
And I got to say too, I mean, if you've been looking at our YouTube channel, Russ has been working on a lot of little clips, short clips and stuff, and with thumbnails, and we're just. I applaud the work that's being done.
Absolutely
picking up some new subscribers and just trying some stuff in our cold season here to see if we can improve what we're doing. So
that's right. And we hope you like it. Let us know if you do. If you don't,
do we really want feedback?
If you like it,
we do. We want the comments.
If you like it,
can you take it, Russ?
No, we want the comments because that's how we've got stuff. We don't need the comment that the video today was moving around because that's what it was for. There's a full video of a tour on there. And when the audio is on there of us talking more, it makes sense. We're going back.
Exactly.
But watching it with the music and stuff, you're like, it's moving around a lot. But that's going away next week. It's just something different I threw up instead of.
But that's the thing, though, Russ. If we're going to be real friends here, we got to talk about this. One person's feedback doesn't mean an immediate change. You got to filter that a little bit. You got to think about it a little bit.
I don't care about it. You put whatever you want, and I'm going to do it if I want, or I'm going to change it if I want.
But we have had had plenty of one person's feedback where it's like, oh, really? I better check on that.
Yeah.
Good. Well, some of it you go, oh, that you can't hear that? Oh, you're supposed to hear that. Let's fix that.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, thanks for the extra work.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Got a couple more pieces on the floor there.
Yeah, don't show that direction. There's a work zone.
I got all that stuff has got to go in.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. We got stuff to talk about. We got stuff to do. Let's.
I got
an
employee review to go to too. I just busy February, so.
Okay.
All right.
I was gonna say.
See y'all later.
I was just gonna say, how is the review? Is it a don't?
All right.
Okay.
Good.
All right. That'll do it for the Under the Hood show. Thanks everybody for watching.